Long before Dubai had its shiny skyscrapers or Abu Dhabi had those mega malls, this land was part of an ancient desert crossroads. And I'm not talking a few hundred years ago. I'm talking over 100,000 years of human activity here. Crazy, right? And that's just the beginning. So stick around because we're diving into the history, politics, culture, and secrets that make the United Arab Emirates one of the most fascinating places on Earth. So going back, archaeologists have found sites showing that people here were trading with Mesopotamia, Persia, even the Indus Valley way back in the day. By the Bronze Age, coastal communities were fishing, herding animals, and sailing off on maritime trade routes. Then, in the 7th century, Islam arrived, uniting local tribes under one faith and tying the region into the vast Islamic world. Over time, the Gulf became a major stop on the trade routes linking East Africa, India, and beyond. And the economy? Fishing, farming dates, and most importantly, pearling. Now, you might think pearling was glamorous, but it really wasn't. In reality, it was grueling and dangerous. Men would dive for months at a time, holding their breath, searching for natural pearls. But for centuries, it was the backbone of coastal life. Then came the 1500s. And the Portuguese. Their ships showed up in Gulf waters trying to control the trade routes. But they didn't last very long because the Persians moved in, and after them the British. By the late 1700s, European sailors were calling this stretch of coastline the Pirate Coast, because local seafarers kept raiding passing ships, and the British weren't having it. So, to protect their trade route to India, they started signing treaties with local rulers. The first was the 1820 General Maritime Treaty. Then, by 1853, they'd locked in a perpetual maritime truce, and the place got a new name, the Trucial States. Britain handled defence and foreign affairs, and the sheikdoms ran their own internal business. For most of the 1800s and early 1900s, life still revolved around the pearling season. So when it was time to work, whole villages would empty out. Men went to sea, women kept households running. But then, disaster struck. The 1930s hit. The Great Depression crushed demand for luxury goods. And to make matters worse, Japan introduced cultured pearls. Overnight, the market collapsed. Communities were thrown into hardship. People went back to small-scale fishing, date farming, and trading just to survive. Then came 1958, which was the turning point in their economy. Want to know why? That was when oil was discovered in Abu Dhabi, and that changed everything. By 1962, they were shipping it out, and the money started rolling in. Roads, ports, hospitals, schools, all built at lightning speed. Dubai found oil in 1966 and jumped on the modernisation train too. Meanwhile, Britain announced in 1968 that they were pulling out of the Gulf by 1971. That left the Trucial States scrambling for a plan. The rulers of Abu Dhabi, Dubai, and the other sheikdoms started talking. And on December 2nd, 1971, 6 emirates came together to form the United Arab Emirates. Ras Al Khaimah joined a few months later in 1972. Leading it all was Sheikh Zayed bin Sultan Al Nahyan, a leader everyone still talks about with huge respect. Under Sheikh Zayed, oil wealth transformed the country, meaning modern infrastructure, world-class healthcare, education, all the works, while holding on to cultural traditions. So what does the UAE look like today? Well, you'll find the United Arab Emirates on the eastern edge of the Arabian Peninsula. It's a federation of 7 unique emirates, each with its own personality, yet all sharing the same blend of tradition and modernity. Abu Dhabi, the largest of the bunch, is an oil-rich giant that takes up more than 3/4 of the country's total land area. It's where shimmering skyscrapers rise from what was once endless sand, and where the desert meets the sea. Right next door is Dubai. It's not just a city, but a global brand that everyone knows about. Nestled at the base of the rugged Musandam Peninsula, it's a world-class hub for business, finance, and travel. Think of it as the UAE's bustling crossroads, home to hundreds of multinational companies, all set against a skyline that looks like it was designed for the future. Then there are the smaller emirates, Sharjah, Ajman, Al Quwain, and Ras Al Khaimah, all sitting on a peninsula that points north toward Iran and frames the Strait of Hormuz, the narrow gateway between the Persian Gulf and the Gulf of Oman. And don't forget Fujairah, it's the only emirate that faces entirely toward the Gulf of Oman, with no coastline on the Persian Gulf at all. And you might think, with 7 federations, the UAE is a massive country. But in reality, it's only slightly smaller than Portugal, bordered by Saudi Arabia to the west and south, and Oman to the east and northeast. Now that we get the big picture, let's zoom in and look at the landscapes. And it comes as no surprise that nearly the entire country is desert, a vast, sun-bleached expanse, broken up by rocky outcrops, coastal plains, and some of the largest sand dunes on Earth, especially east of the Liwa oases. Head about 160 kilometres or 100 miles inland from Abu Dhabi, and you'll find Al Ain, an oasis city famous for its palm groves and cool springs. Along the eastern edge, the Hajar Mountains rise dramatically to about 2,000 metres or 6,500 feet. Their rugged peaks and dry riverbeds, also known as wadis, bring rare pockets of greenery after the winter rains. But the UAE's not all sand, it's got a coastline too. That stretches in 2 directions, one facing the Arabian Gulf and the other one facing the Gulf of Oman. The Gulf coast is low, flat and shallow, while the Oman side is rugged, rocky, and home to natural harbours like Dibba, Khor Fakkan and Kalba. Because of these differences, the marine life on each coast varies slightly, though both owe much of their biodiversity to the warm waters of the Indian Ocean. Speaking of warmth, let's talk about the weather here. Summers are pretty brutal, because along the coast, July temperatures average around 33 degrees Celsius or 91 degrees Fahrenheit, but can soar to 46 degrees Celsius or 115 degrees Fahrenheit. In the desert, it's even hotter, sometimes topping 49 degrees Celsius or 120 degrees Fahrenheit. Luckily, winters aren't as harsh, with January averaging around 18 degrees Celsius or 64 degrees Fahrenheit. But beyond the scorching heat, have you ever wondered what really powers the UAE? Now, if you think the UAE is just about futuristic skyscrapers and luxury shopping malls, you're only seeing half the picture. What really drives this country is a fascinating mix of politics and economics. And trust me, they've both evolved at lightning speed. Politically, the UAE isn't a single city-state, but a federation of 7 emirates, each with its own ruler. At the top is the Federal Supreme Council, made up of all 7 rulers, and from that council one is chosen as the president. Historically, that's always been the ruler of Abu Dhabi, while the ruler of Dubai serves as vice president and prime minister. And yes, it's an absolute monarchy, but one that's unusually cooperative between its emirates, which is part of why the country has stayed so stable compared to much of the region. Economically, this is a place that turned a single lucky break into a global powerhouse. Back in the mid-20th century, when oil was discovered in Abu Dhabi, the UAE went from small fishing and pearling communities to one of the wealthiest nations in the world. Oil still plays a massive role, making up about 30% of GDP, which, as of 2024, is around $537 billion. But here's where it gets interesting. The UAE has been working hard to make sure its future doesn't depend entirely on what's underground. Dubai, for example, has built its fortune less on oil and more on trade, tourism, real estate and finance. The country has set up free trade zones, attracted global corporations, and poured billions into infrastructure. And I'm not talking small projects. I'm talking about the world's busiest international airport, artificial islands shaped like palm trees, and museums that look like they belong in the year 3000. They've also made a name for themselves as a regional hub for business and innovation. Initiatives like Vision 2031 aim to boost sectors like technology, renewable energy, and advanced manufacturing. In fact, the UAE is investing heavily in solar power and even space exploration. Did you know that they launched the Hope probe to Mars in 2020, making them the first Arab nation to do so? And all of this is backed by political stability, which is rare in this part of the world. The leadership has built a reputation for being pragmatic, open to foreign investment, and very strategic about global partnerships. Whether it's hosting the Expo 2020 Dubai or mediating regional conflicts, the UAE likes to play on the world stage, and so far it's doing it pretty well. So, the next time you think of the UAE as just the land of tall buildings and luxury cars, remember, it's also a masterclass in how to turn natural resources into long-term influence, and how politics and economics can work hand in hand to build a brand new national identity in just a few decades. And that change isn't limited only to economics and politics. It's also very much present in everyday life. For starters, the country has been leading the region in some pretty big social changes. Attitudes toward marriage and women's work have shifted a lot, and the government actively pushes for women's empowerment. Today, almost half of Emirati women are in the workforce, which is a huge leap from just a few decades ago. Still, the UAE hasn't forgotten where it came from. While most Emiratis no longer live as nomadic Bedouins or spend their days pearl diving in the Persian Gulf, many traditions remain. For instance, the Muslim majority still celebrates major Islamic holidays like Eid al-Fitr and Eid al-Adha, and traditional dress is part of daily life. For women, that might mean wearing a dir, a light chemise, under a more ornate thawb, with loose trousers called sirwal. Outside the home, there's the flowing abaya, and a headscarf or shal, which can also serve as a veil. The fabrics are often bright, detailed and embroidered, and gold and silver jewellery is a must for special occasions. Men usually wear the kandura, or dishdasha, a long ankle-length garment, usually white cotton in summer, but heavier fabrics or different colours in cooler months. The head covering is the gutra, sometimes plain white, sometimes white and red checkered, held in place with a black camel hair cord called the ikal. And then there's the food, which, honestly, might be the best part. Emirati cuisine is like a map of all the cultures that have passed through here over the centuries. You'll find classics like hummus, falafel and shawarma, alongside Persian-inspired rice dishes seasoned with saffron, cardamom and rosewater. A local favourite is makbuz, made with chicken, lamb or fish, piled over spiced rice with dried lime. Lamb and chicken are the stars here, with fresh dates, figs, lemons and flatbread, or kubs, rounding out everyday meals. Arts and traditions are everywhere too. Pottery, weaving and metalworking keep old crafts alive, while poetry, especially the Bedouin-style Nabati, is still highly respected. The UAE also knows how to throw a good cultural event. Take the Sharjah Desert Theatre Festival, or the international book fairs in Abu Dhabi and Sharjah. They're just the tip of the iceberg. Because Dubai's film scene is booming, and the Dubai Opera House hosts performances that feel straight out of Broadway. Museums like the Louvre Abu Dhabi and Dubai Museum keep history alive, while modern art and design keep pushing the country forward. Sports, they're a big deal here. Football is the national obsession, but traditional favourites like horse racing, camel racing and falconry are still very much alive. And the UAE is no stranger to global sporting events, especially when it comes to the Abu Dhabi Formula One Grand Prix, world-class golf and tennis tournaments, and even the FIFA Club World Cup. Fun fact, the national football team made it to the World Cup in 1990, and Abu Dhabi's Al Ain Club once faced Real Madrid in an international final. The UAE might be a young country, but its culture is this fascinating mix of old and new, where towering skyscrapers share the skyline with centuries-old souks. And traditions are proudly celebrated every single day. So I'm curious, which among the 7 federations would you like to explore first? Let me know in the comments section below. And as always, if you loved this video, you'll enjoy this next one.